What's going on, guys? Boggy D here. Today we are playing a brand new game, Autopsy Simulator. I've been keeping my eye on it for a while and I'm quite excited by it. I'm not too sure what it's going to be like, but let's jump in and find out.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Beatsville. Dr. Jack Hanman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious. For the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work.
Okay.
God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Check the bathroom for your pills. Self-therapy. Hi, this is Kate Brooks, a reporter from the New Orleans Weekly. Oh, jeez. Let's try that again. I couldn't find you at home. I'm marking... What? Starting to suspect you were avoiding me, Mr. Hanman. Anyway, as you know, we like to write an article commemorating your wife's achievements. We would be delighted to talk to you about it. Along with this note, I'm also leaving my business card. I hope to find you at home or the office. Regards, K. Brooks. Oh. Oops. I'm not very good at reading cursive, it seems.
They definitely pay me too little for this. Stephen didn't clean up after himself again.
Are we Stephen? Or are we just in Stephen's office?
Wednesday. It's not my favorite day, although it's certainly better than Monday.
Wednesday is better than Monday.
I guess it was in another life.
I guess that's my wife then. Okay.
Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine.
Oh, that's dark.
It won't be needed for the next few months.
Okay. Fair enough. Analysis of animal traces in forensics. Okie doke. What is that? How to break out of this vicious cycle. Okay. Bathroom.
Okay.
Pills.
Time to pull myself together. And get back to work.
Your brush.
I need to set up the camera
Prepare to
first.
record a lecture. Take the camera from the storage room. Storage. Out of order. It's a social room. Can I leave? Nope. Okay.
This place is starting to look like a hoarder's dream, rather than a storage room.
Yes, indeed it is. This is...
Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time.
Have you done that before? Place it on the tripod in the dissecting room. Office.
But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow. Hopefully
Dissecting
the new tripod
room?
is going to hold up. Now, I just have to get everything in frame.
Frame the cadaver and begin recording.
This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m.
So it's 91.
Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, This will refresh your basic knowledge. In turn, for those whose knowledge is only theoretical, I advise not to watch this after a meal.
Good thing I haven't eaten yet. So take a look at the chalkboard. Different chalkboard? This one. So we need an apron, a mask, goggles, and disinfection.
Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea.
Oh, that doesn't sound nice.
The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something, like I do all the time.
Okay, so don't forget stuff.
In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process.
Okay.
During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. And lastly, remember that nothing teaches you self-narration like working with the dead. So get used to that fact soon. Everyone will think you're talking to yourself.
I mean, it would definitely not be.
You may end. Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we?
Police folder. Do I have my apron and stuff on? Yes, I do. So, police evidence file.
The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years.
So, food coupons.
The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows.
We'll do this one.
He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased.
Oh, that's a bit sad, but usually it's for the right
Signs
reasons.
of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
So, obviously he was drunk.
The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man.
I mean, I guess it would, especially if you weren't expecting to see a body on your way to work.
The context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves.
I saw those before.
Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. It's in here somewhere.
Desk drawer.
Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time.
Okay.
Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Okay. Like on the photo or the actual? Find marks on the body to photograph. Well, there's that. What? Is that not a... What?
Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small.
So it'll give me a little outline.
Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite?
So he was out, it seems like he was out there for a bit. Hello? There.
Poorly healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look later.
Okay. Does the other one just need to be a extreme zoom in? Yes.
That's
okay.
something interesting. It will be necessary to
bonked
check
on the
whether
head.
this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain. In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration.
In
But
photos
before
to
we
the
get to
photo
that,
board.
I need to write down some basic data.
There we go. Perform the autopsy. So,
Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife.
oh, that's
Scalpel, scissors.
okay.
Personal
Perform the
information. The deceased was unclothed. Date.
So unclothed.
Okay. As you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass.
Okay, so, ooh, wrong button. Magnifier.
Which spot first?
We'll do this
It looks
old.
like a burn mark. No doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case.
I thought it was an old stab wound or something. Guess not.
I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen.
So maybe it wasn't murder.
Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color.
Yeah. So that's when their body just doesn't get enough
Definitely
blood
a
flow because
painful
it's too
mix of
cold.
frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes.
Okay, so
First,
we need
I mark
clipboard.
the location of the injuries and make notes for each
Okay.
one.
So highlight the previous found wounds on the clipboard mannequins. So we have a
a
head.
head wound. Definitely an important clue. This is something we'll investigate first. We're not in frost season
left
yet,
arm.
but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite. If Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety of the internal organs is more important than fingers, nose, or ears. Even though this type of wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death, we're still required to record it. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of.
So highlight and consider each wound from the marks and wound section. Oh, it has to be the head, right?
Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head.
Or he got bonked.
Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic.
Could have as well.
The nights have been
That's
particularly
still
nasty
phrase,
lately.
yeah.
We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally.
I don't think
This is
that's...
of no interest to us.
Yeah.
Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
That's fair.
We still have one thing left from the basics. Rigor mortis.
Are we gonna try and move him? Oh, wrong button again.
Well, we take our deceased by the hand,
Hello?
gradually we raise it.
Okay. That's actually very interesting. Oops.
Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's
So-
the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago.
Because
The
rigor
police
mortis
information
is
appears
passed.
correct.
Right? Okay, yeah, so that means rigor mortis is passed. That's cool.
Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw.
Select the skull saw and open the cranium. Okay.
The cut is made from ear to ear.
This is all for educational
After which,
purposes.
we remove the
That's
skin and the top of the skull.
begin a thorough brain analysis by examining the organ. Grab the brain.
After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good.
Oh, there's
Let's make a
physics to it.
cross-section.
Oh, that's... I wasn't expecting
Some
that.
pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now.
Where is board? Over here.
Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us.
Okay, this is an interesting little mini game.
So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain.
So that wasn't the cause of death. Pretty sure hematoma means bleeding on the brain. Return to the autopsy.
We can rule the fatal accident out as well.
Yeah, so it's not
Brain
that
is
one.
in good condition.
Because the brain is
We have
fine.
no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit.
Scalpel.
The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y.
Oh.
We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall.
Okay, so it's where the tip of the blade is. That and all the way down.
Alright, now we peel back and separate the skin.
Oh.
Now,
Oh, that's...
we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this.
This is... detailed game. Select the loppers and remove the ribs.
Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice two things. Firstly, there is no congestion of the internal organs. This means that although the deceased was hypothermic, it didn't kill him. Secondly, the deceased smoked like a chimney.
Oh, then that's why they're
We
black.
should take a closer look at those lungs. We can see widespread black and tarry deposits. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death.
Oh.
Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about?
Is Alice my
Lungs.
wife?
Yes. Advanced inflammation.
Okay. So... mark the damage to the lung on the clipboard. Oh, whoops. Visible inflammation, inflammatory changes, and excessive distension of lung tissue caused by cigarette smoking. Lungs with advanced inflammation not related to death of the deceased. Okay.
What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to collect some samples.
So,
Specifically 3. From the eye, the heart, and the bladder. I'm
okay.
interested to see the concentration of alcohol in the body.
You're not interested. I thought we were looking at alcohol poisoning. So we need these for toxicology
Vitreous
testing.
humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse.
Didn't know they took it from the eye.
5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it.
The heart makes sense.
Not from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid.
Okay.
Now
I
we
don't know
take
why
our
it's one
samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
Emergency eye wash.
It's been a while since the eye wash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now.
Hope we don't need it. Retrieve the notebook from the office with the necessary values to run the centrifuge. Okay. Use the centrifuge. Okay.
We put all of the samples into the rotor.
And how do I do that? By doing this, I guess.
Now, we set the appropriate time and speed.
Set the correct values on both dials and start mixing. Notes. So for the presence of alcohol in the blood, 15 minutes at 70%. And then we pipette. Like that. So 15 at 70.
Okay, let's roll.
Start. Perform the toxicology test, the presence of alcohol.
Shit. The fuses again.
Can we?
Where were we?
What?
Oh yes, the blood alcohol concentration.
Are we not gonna worry about the fuses flickering like that? We're trying to record a video in here. Ghost, please can you just wait?
Let's see what we've got here. Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all.
So, a lot of alcohol it seems.
Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death.
Okay.
Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. Size is normal, healthy, pink color,
No
and as
staining.
expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside.
That's fair.
We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out.
What do they do with stomach acid?
We
'Cause
open the
it's
stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end.
yeah, because it.
Oh,
Oops.
I already feel like there's something left inside.
Yeah. What do they do with the stomach acid? Because isn't it like acidic? Because it obviously digests food. Or does the body just deal with it when
Large amount of gas.
we die?
Small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents.
That means we're going in his bowels.
There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck.
Okay, it's not the way I thought we were going. So we need the neck.
At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as
Can you
with the
sit down
stomach.
it?
The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray.
Oh, that's disgusting. There's definitely stuff in it.
While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen.
Okie doke.
And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it.
So he did
Clogged
vomit.
trachea. It's time to summarize
Oh.
the whole thing.
He choked to death. Turn to the autopsy.
Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back.
So yeah, he vomited and couldn't
Then
turn
the
over.
gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death.
Shit, that would not be a good way to go. Note the main cause of death,
That's why we don't
asphyxiation.
forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Yep. I'm very glad I learnt first aid at a young age. I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember the recovery position and that sort of stuff. Decide the appropriate manner of death. The deceased probably fell asleep or fainted after drinking a large amount of alcohol. Its concentration suppressed signals in the brain that control the gag reflex, leading to choking. I mean, I don't know if it's I guess it's an accident.
And now it's all clear.
And
The death was suffocation. Now, signature.
complete the autopsy.
For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps.
Do we not put the organs back? Or is he just missing a heart and stuff?
And then
Good thing this is an
we
ancient
sew the
Egypt.
deceased back up.
I think it's Anubis.
I'm using the
that did
baseball
the
stitch
weighing of the
technique.
organs.
This stitching method is very strong and quick to do.
Okay. Are we stitching or stapling?
Beautiful.
There we go. Leave the
Now we
body.
say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey.
Place the body in the fridge and close it. Close. There we go.
God, I'm tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar.
Head to your car in the parking lot. Okay. I'm enjoying this game though.
I'll call Steven. I don't feel like
Finding
drinking
it
alone
fun so
today.
far. Okay, I guess we don't go to the car. Oh, oops. I thought it was a loading screen. Hello? Hello? Anybody there? Oh. Why do I have a head? I'm confused. It cracked. What happened? Oh. Hello? What the fuck? Oh jeez. I don't like this. This is very unsettling. I also think that there's no audio. It makes it slightly scarier as well. I got absorbed by the skull pit. Okay.
Forgive
Was
me.
that just a dream? Yeah. Oh, that was a
Christ.
shit dream. Jeez.
What a dream. Fuck.
Well, I think I'm going to call it there for today, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.